Right now at 6, Floridians flee and hunker down as Hurricane Milton roars ashore.
We've never had one like this. I've been here for 38 years and never had one to force us to do this.
Plus, a KGW investigation into the criminal networks targeting seniors and extorting them for tens of thousands of dollars.
They threatened to confiscate our property, close down all of our accounts.
And a brazen theft from a local shelter caught on camera.
They exploited a moment where a padlock was unlocked from Fireball's kennel.
What we're learning about those allegedly involved and how authorities tracked down the puppy.
But I urge everyone in Hurricane Milton's path to follow all safety instructions as we head to the next 24 hours. It's literally a matter of life and death.
A matter of life and death, and too late to leave, as right now a monster of a storm, Hurricane Milton, roars ashore on Florida's Gulf Coast just south of Tampa Bay, bringing with it life-threatening storm surge, punishing winds, rising floodwaters, and tornadoes, even on the other side of the state. And as we continue with this breaking news here, with the hurricane officially making landfall as a Category 3, the vast majority of counties in Florida have declared a state of emergency, with search and rescue teams in position to act once the worst of the storm passes. Though it is going to be a long night from Fort Myers to north of Miami. We've already seen those tornadoes cause serious damage. The governor saying some 19 have touched down, with power outages now ticking past the 600,000 mark. That number set to essentially explode. Once again, we want to get right to Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino with an update. Matt?
All right, David, thank you very much. Yes, Milton has made landfall just south of Tampa, between Tampa and Sarasota. The eye is moving inland. The eye is a lot broader than it was a couple days ago, but there's still some really wicked weather moving through the Tampa Bay, St. Pete area right now. And you can see this rain shield on the northwest quadrant of the hurricane is still yet to pass on shore. So they're not done. And even though this storm is now moving inland, it is going to wreak havoc across the entire Florida peninsula. You mentioned the tornadoes earlier. Those are still possible overnight tonight and again during the day tomorrow. And the storm surge will follow this storm inland for a few more hours, with high tide yet to come later on tonight. So where the blue is here, that's where we're getting the heaviest rainfall, right between St. Pete, Tampa Bay, Tampa, the Bay, and down to Bradenton and Sarasota. And the winds have just been ferocious, especially around those tornadoes. We had a gust of 92 miles an hour earlier in the day over on the East Coast. Here's a bit wider view for a little more perspective. The rain shield now reaching southern Georgia, and this northeastern part of Florida will also experience a strong storm surge as low pressure to the southwest draws in the water from the Atlantic onshore there. So we've got the storm surge warning until Saturday night, okay? That's a long, long run for that. And then this area here over Tampa Bay, that is an excessive wind warning out, kind of like a tornado warning, but for a hurricane for this entire area around Tampa Bay. So it is brutal there right now. The winds will gradually diminish later on tonight, but the rain continues and the storm surge continues. And the wind pattern, that's the tropical storm force wind, diameter about 400 miles, covering most of Florida. The storm surge will be heaviest south of where it made landfall as the water piles up. So the biggest threats, the dangerous storm surge continuing, and on the East Coast, not just the West Coast. Tornadoes again tomorrow are possible. And then inland, not to be left out. This is going to be an inland problem too, with flash flooding. David?
I just did a double take on those warnings until Saturday to confirm it is in fact still Wednesday right now. Thank you, Matt. All right, in your headlines, police are investigating after a Vancouver woman was killed in her home. This happened around 9:30 last night near Northwest 99th Street and 26th Avenue in the Lakeshore neighborhood. We just spoke with family at the scene. They tell us 78-year-old Patricia Jimmerfield was the victim, and her daughter tells us she was beaten and strangled. They say her home was broken into a few days before, and they suspect the same people returned. Police have not confirmed those details, only calling her death a homicide. We'll have much more on this case coming up tonight on KGW News at 11. A North Portland marijuana shop employee who police say shot and killed 2 robbery suspects has now been charged with murder. The shooting was last Thursday night at La Mota in the St. John's neighborhood. Portland police say 34-year-old Jason Steiner fatally shot 2 of 3 men following an armed robbery. He turned himself in today and was booked on 2 charges there of murder. Police also identified the 2 who were killed. They are 18-year-old King Lawrence and 20-year-old Tahir Burley, both of Milwaukee. The 3rd robbery suspect remains at large. And in Clackamas County, 2 people are now behind bars facing charges in connection with a brutal stabbing. 43-year-old Tristan Thomas died last week, 12 days after he was stabbed at his apartment complex in Clackamas over a reported argument. 52-year-old Chad Westover was initially arrested on assault charges, then released on bail. Today, the sheriff's office announcing they'd re-arrested him and charged him with second-degree murder. He's now being held without bail. Authorities add 48-year-old Samantha Christensen of Happy Valley turned herself in today on charges of assault and evidence tampering. Well, tonight in a KGW investigation, we're talking about imposter schemes with criminals posing as the FBI, for example, hoping to swindle you out of money, though now they're also showing up at your front door. Investigator reporter Kyle Lavoshi is here. Kyle, you dug into one criminal network that seems to be targeting Oregon residents.
Yeah, we started working on this story about a week ago, and during that time, the scammers hit again, ripping off a Portland couple for $3 million. It shows how common this scam is and how we all need to be watching out for our family and our neighbors.
Gold bars and bags supposedly filled with cash, all evidence of a scam extorting millions of dollars from people across the country, warns the FBI.
This is part of a larger national and international fraud scheme.
Through court records, police body cam, and surveillance video from around the country, KGW has been able to reconstruct how this imposter scam works, including the bad guys showing up at your doorstep.
Say car pulls up, rolls the window down, you give them the money and they drive off.
Virgil, who asked that we not use his last name, lost a total of $90,000 according to court records. The Salem man says it all started with a pop-up screen on his computer.
Turned the computer on and went crazy.
A phone number appeared on the screen. He called it and then was told he'd be transferred to the FBI.
I couldn't believe I was talking to the FBI. You know, I'm just a Joe Blow out here in a little old house that has nothing to do with anything.
The 83-year-old received official-looking documents from the National Cyber Investigative Joint Task Force, warning his identity had been linked to a devastating cyber attack at the FBI's Sacramento office. His assets may be frozen, and Virgil could be arrested.
They threatened to confiscate our property, close down all of our accounts, all of our family accounts, everything else.
Virgil worried about his wife, his dog, his adult kids, and their families. So he agreed and followed instructions.
If it comes down to money or family, I'm going to go with family every time. And I did.
According to court records, Virgil sent 2 payments via UPS, both $20,000 in cash. Then another payment, $50,000. But this time, one of the agents would come by to pick it up. On April 3rd, Virgil handed over a box stuffed with cash.
You stand out here in the driveway, he pulls up, rolls the window down, and drives away. Simple as that.
Virgil was told to keep things secret and stay in constant contact with a special agent named John Stryker, which he did.
The voice on the other end of the phone, it sounded...
Sometimes friendly, most of the time friendly, because I was cooperating. If I challenged him, he didn't like that very well.
But after mentioning it to his daughter, Virgil recognized this was indeed a hoax. So he called the real FBI, who set up a sting. This surveillance photo shows the scammers waiting for a drop of $86,000 in cash. Instead, Virgil gave them a decoy box with no money.
Well, the FBI agent was just sitting down here at the corner. And as soon as he drove away, the FBI agent followed him around, got down the road here a couple of miles and pulled him over. That's where it all stopped.
Police arrested Ramaraj Ganasan, and in his car they found this. Federal agents say the gold bars worth $85,000 were from a separate scam victim in the Seattle area. According to court papers, Ganasan admitted picking up packages from victims in South Carolina, Florida, Arizona, Utah, and Washington.
It tells you the vastness of this organized fraud scheme.
In a separate case, another man, Navjot Singh, was arrested in July after a West Lynn couple lost approximately $279,000 to an FBI imposter scam. Singh was apprehended in a similar sting after he too showed up to collect a package thought to contain gold bars. Then, just last week, another case. According to court records, an elderly Portland couple lost $3 million in gold after scammers posed as the Social Security Administration. Throughout the country, local police and the FBI have arrested numerous couriers sent to meet victims in person and pick up cash or gold for the scammers, who are often based overseas.
And so there's hundreds of millions of dollars internationally being funneled back to these organizations.
Will Brooks is Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Portland office.
Would the FBI or law enforcement ever ask people for money?
No, law enforcement would never ask people for money. That would never happen.
Brooks warns, protect your personal information. Don't click on unsolicited pop-ups on your computer. Don't allow strangers remote access to your computer. And trust your gut.
Was there ever a point you were like, this just doesn't feel right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
These scammers prey on emotion and fear, so slow down. Talk to someone you trust. It may help you realize it's a scam.
Scam victims are often embarrassed, but they need to report it to the FBI right away, even if the crooks don't get any money. Last year in Oregon, victims to government imposter scams lost $1.7 million, according to the FBI.
That number just staggering. Kyle, really appreciate your work on this. Thanks so much. Straight ahead at 6, a good news update on the puppy stolen from a local animal shelter, how police track down the pup, and what we're learning about the people responsible. Stay with us.